Recording in progress.
We are live.
It says Wi-Fi not connected. Well, let's hope it.
Are we ready?
I'm ready when you're ready.
Okay. Well, welcome to the FedRAC meeting for the month of November. For the record, my name is Huang Tran, Chair of this committee. On my right is Councilmember Paul McDaniel, a member of the committee, and Councilmember Susan Honda. On my left, another committee member, Councilmember Jack Dovey, and Council President Linda Kochma. And up here online, I believe we have the Director of Finance, Steve Roon. Is that correct?
I am here, Chair. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Okay, do we have any public comments?
We have no public comment.
No comment today, thank you. Now we are moving to committee business. The first item is item A, approval of summary minutes for October 28, 2025.
I make a motion to approve summary minutes of October 28, 2025.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. We now move into item B, approve interlocal agreement, Internet Crimes Against Children, ICAC Task Force, Commander Michael Coffey.
Good evening, committee members. Thank you for your time today. Again, I'm Michael Coffey. I'm a commander that oversees our criminal investigations section. That's the area that houses our detectives, and they predominantly handle all the types of cases that involve internet crimes against children, which is what our task force is talking about tonight. The policy question that I bring before you is, should the City of Federal Way enter into an interlocal agreement to take part in the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, or ICAC Task Force? A little bit of background about the ICAC Task Force. It was formed in 1998. It is part of the Department of Justice and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Unit. They are created to assist law enforcement agencies with investigating these technology-based crimes involving sexual exploitation and abuse of children. They collaborate with 61 other agencies and about 3,500 officers across the country. The task force, the interlocal agreement that we're looking at is to partner with the Washington Task Force, which is led by Seattle PD. They're the designated task force head. There is no financial impact for us to participate in this agreement. It is support and service provided to us as part of that. It provides us with specialized training, technical expertise as it pertains to digital forensics, specialized training, victim-centered assistance. It also provides access to us in the area of some wellness programs for our officers and investigators who are exposed to these really horrific images, some of the most difficult things that an officer will see in their career. And so the traumatic effects of that are impactful on those who have to view those. And so the wellness component is another huge asset that ICAC partnership brings to us. The psychologist that works with the ICAC task force was actually in today meeting with several of our officers and staff as she makes routine visits. And she's been a real huge benefit to us. There are a number of other benefits that participating in this task force provides for us. Again, the resources involved in technical expertise. There's some ability to open up grant funding on the federal side by being a participant of ICAC if those funding sources get opened up. And then the training that they provide is only provided to ICAC members and affiliate agencies, and they typically have no charge involved in those, to include an annual conference that they hold, 3-day conference, which I had the privilege of attending recently and provided me with some very valuable tools in supervising personnel who are exposed to these things and investigate those. So we really see that the other benefit is entering into this interlocal agreement, which we have done for a number of years, really reaffirms our commitment to this vulnerable population and protecting them from these silent predators who oftentimes sneak their way into their houses unawares from those who are, designed to protect them. And so the task force provides us with that ability to hopefully get in and intervene. We have seen real-world applications even recently where we've gotten tips from ICAC and the task force pertaining to potential ongoing or immediate action that was needed with children being abused, and we were able to intervene within a matter of hours. And so there's a tremendous value to us that we see, and the question before you today with the options would be to approve the proposed interlocal agreement or to not approve that proposed interlocal agreement and provide direction to us. And I can take any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Commander.
First question, I believe you already mentioned, or it might have already answered, but I'm going to ask anyways. Is this the same program that we've been using for the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's just an annual interlocal agreement, so we have to present it every year for consideration again.
Gotcha. And then previous years, I was able to get updates. I won't be able to get an update this time because I'll be off after the night. What is our current staff? How many members of the current police department are actually targeted on these kind of crimes?
So we have 16 detectives within our mainstream detective unit. We have 2 that dedicate, if we have ICAC type investigations or cyber crimes, we have 2 primary people that we would send those to. One has previously been on a federal task force in other agencies. She's very advanced in her skills. The other detective has spent several years and he's really advanced in his skills through a lot of participation in ICAC. So the answer is 2. They handle all of our crimes. We can broaden those if we need to. Oftentimes, when we need additional resources, we collaborate with the other partner groups with ICAC, and they will send resources. For instance, if we have a mission that we need to execute in arresting somebody and serving a search warrant, we'll partner with those agencies. The ICAC task force will send a number of people down, personnel, resources to triage equipment. They have K9 available to us that can sniff out some of these silicone-based equipment, silicone-based devices that are oftentimes hidden. And so we have 2 committed, but the task force really multiplies that resource that we have and makes it an invaluable tool for us.
Yeah. And this one is targeted towards actual children then? There's the internet crimes, but this one's actually tailored towards the children offenses?
Yes, specifically to that, and they partner with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and we're able to collaborate with them through this partnership as well, and they provide some tools for identification of victims and giving us additional pieces of information. If we have images that we don't know whether or not they're victims that are identified, they're able to screen those out and verify those.
Gotcha. And then what is the average time frame for someone to be in this position before they transfer out, just due to the content they have to look at?
It really depends. It's something that as a supervisor and as their direct supervisor, we're evaluating at all times. And working with the psychologist, they're also monitoring those things. Anytime that individual investigating these would come to us and indicate that they're having struggles with it or that they need some time off, we will evaluate that and provide that opportunity. The wellness component of this is very impactful to me. I've had partners in law enforcement and other agencies who have had long-term exposure to these type of things, and unfortunately they're no longer in law enforcement because of it. In part, a lot of this just because of what is exposed. So we're constantly evaluating those. There isn't a designated time. Some people really, because of their commitment to these vulnerable victims and children, they have the ability to, through some of the wellness programs and peer programs, spend longer in there. And they really find they get a lot of value in their career path by really supporting these victims. And so they're able to, as long as we can evaluate and say that their wellness is doing okay and that we're not seeing any concern factors. It might be their caseload, the quality of work, their time off things. We're evaluating those all the time, but no specific set time. We're monitoring it all the time because everybody's a little bit different. I've had investigators who are working in child abuse cases who after 6 months come to me and go, this isn't the type of caseload I can work. I'm having trouble at home, and we quickly rotate them out. So always evaluating that, no designated time, which I think does help because we can kind of move people out quicker if they need to be. And those who don't, we can allow them to really hone that skill. It is so specialized. It takes years to really build that skill set to be able to effectively work through these types of things with the technical aspects. So, but the wellness of each detective and each officer is imperative to us, and their health and longevity, not just in their time in their career, but when they go into their retirement and be able to have a healthy life living after is really important to us.
Gotcha. Last question I have is, are we seeing an increase or decrease in these kind of crimes right now?
Judging by what we've seen this year, and maybe it's because we've expanded our staff that is participating in this. We previously had 1 and now we have 2. We have seen an increase in some of our cyber tips. Those are the information that we get funneled to us. And by more information, more active information, things that we can act on. We've had a number of arrests and operations this year. We've had some that have initiated in federal way but led to, neighboring jurisdictions. So we've seen an increase for us. I don't know if ICAC in general is seeing an increase, but for us particularly, we're getting through some more of these cyber tips. We're being more productive in the ones that are there that we're getting. The Seattle team filters a lot of those, so the ones that they send us are ones that have more actionable information. In the past, we've had a lot of tips that just are not necessarily actionable. They're information, and we can't necessarily ascertain where somebody's at. So a number of factors, we are seeing an increase. I don't know if that's an overall increase, but for us, there is an increase. So just in actionable tips that we're receiving.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, are most of the police departments in South King County members of this?
I don't know specifically the number that are. The majority of the ones that we deal with within our valley are participants in there. I know I've seen, when I went to the conference, I saw several of the sergeants and command staff from adjoining agencies. I don't know who all has interlocal agreements signed. Some of the smaller agencies don't, just because they don't have the staff to commit to the resources for that. But most of the agencies that I'm aware of in our neighboring jurisdictions participate.
And if there was a change in the way Seattle does policing, and they decided they weren't going to be the lead, I'm assuming they're the lead organization because it's interlocal with them.
Yes.
But if something weird happened and they decided they're not going to do this anymore, how would we deal with that, or how would this continue?
That would be for the partnership in the ICAC, the national organization, to identify another entity to take over.
Okay.
I could speculate who that entity might be. Seattle, there's a lot of funding sources and a lot of resources that come into play. They have a forensic lab that they allow us to use and for processing computers and cell phones and those kind of things. So their structure is built in a way that it is really advantageous for them. Their team is committed to participating in this and running it. They have a pretty robust team that works to the administrative side of this, so I don't see them. But in the event that they do, we would work with the national entity to try to identify who the lead agency would be, because it's part of the contract that we have, the interlocal, that there is a lead agency for each task force that kind of facilitates the project.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. The cases that we've been involved in, are drugs involved very, very often? Do they go hand in hand?
I can't think of any instances that they are. I don't have all the specific details. I'm sure there are some that do, but I can't think of any that have a direct nexus to drug use.
And how many cases have we had in the last couple of years?
I tried to get that figure determined, and I wasn't able to come up with the total on that. There's a difference between cyber tips that come in and cases that we assign out. Sometimes a cyber tip will come in, and we quickly maybe identify that it's not within our agency or jurisdiction, and we farm those out. So I'm still working to get the specific number. I know that we have seen an increase based on our number of arrests and number of larger scale missions that we have deployed for. But I can work to get that at a later time. I apologize, I don't have that number right now.
No problem. And when an officer needs some help talking through what they've seen and what they've been involved with, that's not used against them in the future, is it?
No, not at all. It's been identified, especially when within the internet crimes against children and those who have to view these types of material. Unfortunately, that is a component of the investigation, to be able to articulate what the material is, to say that, yes, this is in violation of the statute. That creates difficulty within people. But though there's no stigma attached to it, the detective or the officer can meet confidentially with the psychologist. It's identified when she is in, her information has been provided. Our peer support team also works with her, so they get some tools in place within our local department to be able to have confidential contact and the ability to disclose that information. It's never held against anybody if they have a struggle or dealing with it, but we just want to make sure that they get the tools and resources that they need to cope with it. And if they need to be removed, it's not punitive in nature. It's meant to be a health and wellness aspect.
And my last question is, what's the definition of a child? How old is it 18 or 24? I know that sometimes we say youth goes up to 24, age 24.
With regards to when we're talking about images and sexual exploitation of children, it's 18.
Okay, thank you.
Council President?
Can you tell me how many children, you're dealing with cyber porn, but how many children are actually led into trafficking because of that in our area?
It would be really difficult to assess that figure. There's a number of ways that, unfortunately, children become victims of trafficking, and not always are they really forthcoming at sharing kind of the key point at which they got into that. Many times they self-exploit, unfortunately, when they get kind of trapped in this circle. So it's hard to identify the specific number. A lot of what we see in the ICAC or those type of investigations would be mostly the type of thing where, please send me images of yourself. We're soliciting for, sexual exploitation in that regard. There could be some that are, luring type of events where they try to meet and connect with somebody. That's where the collaboration with our other partners helps. That doesn't always occur within our jurisdiction, and we can farm those out. It would be hard for me to put a number on how many children are become entangled in that trafficking component associated with cyber crimes of that nature.
So I know that cyberbullying in the schools was a big issue. And do we work with the schools on when we identify that as occurring?
I know our school resource officers are really good about initiating those investigations and working with that. Some of the cyberbullying is encompassed within ICAC's field of operations, because oftentimes that's part of the technology-based attack that goes on. If it's juvenile against juvenile, usually the school resource officers manage that with the school. They work with the administrators and really work to partition those out, but also have a joint investigation in those.
So do we have, and my last question is, do we have any procedure where we can help parents understand how to block certain sites or block the child from being able to access?
So ICAC and National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have some tools in place, and our ICAC investigators can direct parents towards those. Those national resources are a really great piece of information that parents can have for blocking websites, using restrictions and those kind of things. There's also tools that those organizations have that help those who have been exploited and victims of exploitation find organizations that will help them remove some of those images. Obviously, when you're talking about a vulnerable child who's been exploited, and unfortunately those images get used over and over and over, it can be very traumatizing for them as the victim, not only for the initial incident, but to know that these things are out there haunting them for their future. So the resources for the parents are out there through these entities that I've mentioned, and also for victims in helping try to remove some of those materials from more public-facing things. Obviously, we can't extract information if somebody has it privately saved, but to keep them from running across it or somebody else from running across an image and creating that additional trauma from that are avenues that we have to be able to use through those tools.
Many years ago, 45 years ago, I worked in juvenile detention and Multnomah County Juvenile Court in Portland, Oregon. After 3 years, I said, I can't handle this. I'm out of here. I'm going to work in a bank. I'm not doing this. So I can understand how they feel. Thank you.
Councilmember Wash?
Yeah. This type of crime is horrendous, but do we have, how many, in the last year or 5 years or whatever, how many arrests have we been able to make? And how many victims have we been able to help rescue or escape or whatever the right terminology would be?
I apologize, I don't have that number in front of me. For this year, I know of at least 4 arrests that we've made, if I'm recounting those off the top of my head accurately. One, again, within the last several months, which was probably one of the most significant tips we had, where it was literally, hey, we have information that this person is potentially abusing their child in progress right now and transmitting those images internationally. And that's the hard part with some of these crimes is They may originate in Federal Way or they may terminate in Federal Way, but the reach is so broad and vast that to do it on our own in a limited capacity is really almost impossible. And to have that information from ICAC to say, hey, there's potentially victims that are being victimized right now, we put together a team immediately, went and ensured that they were safe, the perpetrator wasn't on scene. However, we were able to follow up the next day and facilitate an arrest in which he confessed to the crime that was committed. And so, those are, even if it's one child that we're able to remove, it really says how much we're committed to it, and ICAC is committed to being able to partner in those ways to protect even one victim. So I don't know the specific number. I can try to continue to identify that through our records and parse those out and provide that at a later time, but I know it's been several this year.
Have the arrests generally ended in successful prosecutions?
I'd have to follow up to give you specific details. Most often, these cases never even make it to trial. They end up in a plea and resolving on their own. But they're typically very successful in once we get to that level that we can make an arrest. Oftentimes, they're difficult to get to that level with the amount of information and evidence that we need. Part of our ICAC partnership provides a dedicated prosecutor to us. So we work with a prosecutor who's very specialized in this field. They have dual authority, so they have authority on the federal side to prosecute and on the state side, so they know which venue is the best to move these cases to, and that's part of that partnership that we have. Sometimes the federal system is a more appropriate system to bring those into if we're talking about exceeding jurisdictions, and sometimes the state side is better for the accountability portion of these things, and so that piece plays into, before we get to that level, we've already vetted it through a prosecutor, ensured that it's a viable case for prosecution.
And just one last question. I think that AI is making it all the more challenging now, but kind of going back to the cyberbullying type thing in schools, I aware of a situation, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, where a young girl about middle school age images were created, that and spread, electronically to other students but it was minors involved all the way, and now with AI, I would imagine that it's probably becoming more rampant. But will this work with situations like that, or is it mostly working with adults that are the instigators?
Most often, we're addressing adults because it is a potential for dual jurisdiction with the federal side and the state side. The juvenile court handles a lot of these. There's some provisions for juveniles who are engaged in this kind of activity that's specialized to them. The state put some statutes in place so that we weren't seeing 14 and 15-year-old kids who are doing things that kids shouldn't be doing but are still very, significant. They weren't getting penalized with federal, criminal sexual exploitation cases and that lingering. So there's some tools in place for the juvenile side of it. The AI component is a whole nother piece of the puzzle that we are really working to navigate through and see how that applies to the statutes that are in place. I know we've had our 2 investigators have both dealt with cases that are AI based and navigating whether or not we can proceed with they meet the statutory requirement to identify a victim and an image. I think we will be moving that direction in the future. I anticipate the legislature has to catch up a little bit, but I would kind of foresee that there's going to have to be a push for that because it's becoming prevalent and so rapidly evolving into that like the incident you explained, it's, generating an AI image is a computer image. It's not necessarily a real victim, but AI grabs their information from real sources. So it may not be a depiction of a real victim in the image that we're seeing, but that doesn't mean that there's not components of a real victim that was used to compile that AI-generated image. And the prosecutors know that, and the teams know it, and so we're working to make sure that that we will get to the place where we can prosecute those. We're trying the best we can on the ones we get. The one that we recently had, we pushed through to see if we could kind of be a forerunner on that, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get charges on it with the case that we had. It just didn't meet the criteria, but I think that we'll get there in the future. the predominant thing that ICAC works with is adults, just because of where we're at. But there are some tools in place that we would be able to use them for acquiring the data that we need, even if it's a juvenile. We would then just forward it to our juvenile prosecution portion.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, one follow-up. You mentioned when it has minor on minor in schools. When you have something like that happen, is the police first or second to respond? And does that come out of the schools, or do the schools try to handle that in-house?
Each case is so varying. Again, having the school resource officers in the schools is helpful because a lot of times they're one of the first people to get notified of, if we have, oftentimes what we see with juveniles in the schools are, you have two people who are in some sort of dating relationship, they exchanged images, now they're no longer in a dating relationship, and they think it is of some sort of entertainment value or vindictive value to send those to a friend. The state has a statute in place for disclosing intimate images, which applies in part to those situations. So we have a statute specific to that. When it happens in the schools, if the school is notified by it, they typically will identify us as getting involved, and then we will do our investigation. Oftentimes, it's the school resource officer who gets immediately notified of that. The times when it goes home and maybe a parent finds out or a guardian finds out, they're usually the ones to call. So it comes from both sides. The schools partner with us when we have our school resource officers if these come up, because they are significant. They are impactful to those who are involved in it. These youth who have images out there and they're being exploited in that way, it is traumatizing and it's difficult. And now with the ease of the technology that's in everybody's hands, it just becomes more and more prevalent. So we see the school partner with us. If they get to be first notified, they'll partner with us. Oftentimes it's the resource officer. If parents are notified, they call us. Obviously, if anybody who's a parent saw that their child is being exploited in this way, they're likely going to be pretty upset, and they call us pretty regularly. So I wouldn't say we get a ton of those cases. We get a handful of them every year, and we process them the best we can. Oftentimes, because there's juvenile involved, there's diversion programs and things to address the juvenile and address the behavior and try to remedy that before it makes it to an adult level where now there's more significant accountability and punitive things associated with it.
Gotcha. That was it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Want to make the motion then, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. I move to forward the proposed interlocal agreement to the January 6, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you.
All right. We are now moving to item C, approved lease agreement, Barley Road LLC and City of Fairway Downtown Substation. Commander Hodge?
Evening, council members. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be in front of you once again. I do appreciate it. In front of you is the interlocal agreement between Valley Road LLC and the City of Fairway for the downtown substation. The financial impact for the lease substation owned by Valley Road LLC is included in the approved police department budget under line 001210011523452. The current monthly lease is $3,700, increasing to $3,800 in 2026, $3,900 in 2027, and $4,000 in 2028. These leases funded through the general funds as was approved in the budget. The background: we've been at the downtown substation since 2015. I think we all know the benefit of it. Biggest benefit is the visibility. Having it downtown and a place where citizens are going to feel safe going to. With the new light rail coming up and opening next month, I think it is very important to keep the substation for the accessibility, the visibility, and the easy access for citizens and police officers. It really is a benefit having it down there. People like seeing it, it makes them feel safe. So I would recommend and hope that you approve the lease for the next 3 years. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Committee member McDaniel?
You want to go? I'll let Jack go first this time. I'll take the last one.
No. Jack?
Why, I know we need the substation. Why are we only going for 3 years? I mean, I mean, I get 3 years is a good time, but if we know we're gonna be there, we're not gonna build a substation in the near future, it's near the light rail, I'm just curious why we aren't doing it for longer. Is it just because we don't want to take the risk of a longer lease, or was there a reason for that?
Sir, I have no idea why we're not going longer or shorter. I know we used to do it every year. I was up here last year doing it. So the increase from 1 year to 3 years is a great increase. At least I don't have to come up every year. I do appreciate that. Thank you. But you would have to talk with the chief in regards to why it's only 3 years. I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay, well, what how much it's going up is like hardly anything. It's like a rounding error. But I just think if we're going to be there, we should probably lock it in longer than just having to do it every 3 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Paul, you want to go next, or you want to?
Yeah, I don't mind. Got a couple questions. The first one is, this facility is not open to the public most of the time. It's usually not manned, correct? It's just a facility?
Hello, Mr. McDaniels. Great to see you. Appreciate you. I don't want to say it's not manned, but it's not.
Let me rephrase
It's-
it for you. It's not not manned around the clock.
It is not manned around the clock, that is correct. But people have gone there for help in the past. It's not someplace like the police station here where they can walk into and sit down. But we do have officers there, they do get dispatched out of there, and they can be access if something is happening right outside the substation.
Gotcha. I know Sound Transit had said that they were going to step up. Is Sound Transit, are they going to be increasing the police? Have we talked to them about any of this stuff? And also, is there a location that they're going to be using for their officers that we could use? Do you know any of that stuff?
I do not know any of that, sir. We'll have to check with the chief and get back to you on that.
Okay. The next question is I believe we have one other, we used to have one in Twin Lakes. I think that one got closed down. We still have one off Pack Highway. Now, the one off Pack Highway, if I understand correctly, there is no fee for that one. Is there any options that do not have fees? Is there anybody who's offering facilities around that location other than for charge?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay. Fee options. That one. I guess the rest of my questions would be for just council. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Susan, and then Jack.
Thank you. So I question the value of having this lease, and the reason I do is there's a sign on the door, it says call 911. So if you want an officer, you have to call 911. And my concern is with up to 30,000 more people downtown, I would like to see this, if we're going to continue, excuse me, if we're going to continue having this substation, I'd like to see it open at least during working hours when people are coming and going from light rail, because having to call 911, there was a woman last year, I worked with an elderly woman, she was robbed of her phone, and she had no way to call 911. So, she went over there, and she didn't get any help. She ended up walking home. But I think if we're going to keep it, the lease, that we need to at least have someone in the facility where the doors are unlocked and people can walk in and request assistance. And that's my opinion. I was there this summer and a man came up to the door and wanted to know if that was the police station. He had looked online and it directed him to that location. It was a Saturday, and I'm like, well, no, you have to go down, and I gave him the address for here, and he had no way to get here. He didn't have a car, buses don't come here. So if people are being directed online, I don't know what he looked at and what site told him to go to that substation and not to come here. I would like to see it staffed, at least with one person that is there and can help someone if they need help. Thank you.
Jack.
I definitely see the benefit of it, but I agree with Councilmember Honda that, if there's some way that we could have it be more accessible, rather than just I mean, there's certain benefit. I mean, businesses sometimes say, hey, you're on camera, and they might not even have a camera that's working, but I mean, just saying you're on camera helps, helps prevent some crimes. And saying that there's a substation there and people being able to see it, I mean, that can probably help prevent some crimes. But once again, if people are going there, are there any positions, downstairs here that could be transferred and that basically not, doing the work that they're doing now, but there, so that it was more accessible? I don't, what's the square footage of the substation?
The substation, I do not know the square footages, and I do not want to speak for the chief, but I know if we were to open that up for a public to come in, there would have to be some major construction done, because it is not like it is downstairs, what is accessible to have someone there 24 hours, and you also have to increase the manning. We would have to have more
Right.
people in the police department to actually have someone down there during the business hours. So it'll be a big increase, but you guys are the city council, to do that.
Okay, and also kind of going off what Paul said, with Sound Transit, I mean, it seems to me like it may be a smart idea to at least inquire with Sound Transit, maybe we could work with them and they'd be able to use that space also and help with the manning of it, and it could be a benefit both to them and to us, and a win-win possibly. It seems like that is something that ought to be investigated.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's all I have. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commander. I do agree that there's a value to have a substation at downtown, but I also agree with Councilmember Walsh and Honda and McDaniel that with the opening of light rail and the number of people will go through that area, I think we need to somehow figure out a way to staff up that area, to have personnel actually locate in that substation or another location. That is something that the future council member and the mayor can take on because after this meeting, Mr. Dovey and McDaniel and myself won't be here next year. So, but I think that's something that the future council should consider. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Make motion?
Mine's more conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just going to chat with these guys real quick. So my big concern on this one is not knowing Sound Transit, what's going on. We're about to spend money on something that's not manned. We've had complaints from multiple people about going there to have a 911 phone call on it. And then I would also like to know if there's, what availability, is there anybody offering a free spot for the police? I mean, saving money. And we also have the mall. We have officers at the mall 7 days a week. So it's like we have someone right across the street, we've got that facility, it's not manned, we've got Sound Transit, it needs to be talked to. I'd like to know if there's an option that somebody's maybe willing to give us a location. I also thought Sound Transit was building on the mall side, a building that was actually for security and police presence. So I almost want to say just table this till January's FedRAC and let them, once they have some of this information to make a decision on it then. I don't see a need to rush into it at the moment, but that's my personal opinion. I would like to make the motion to table it till the next FedRAC meeting personally. But I'd like to hear feedback.
Susan?
My question is, why if this were to go to the full council, it says January 6th, 2026, not December 2nd? Is there a reason for that?
They all are.
They all are?
Yeah.
Why is that? Ryan?
That's because the council agenda had to be published by the afternoon today, and since our meeting was not happening until later tonight, that the stuff all had to be bumped to the January 6th, according to the city clerk.
Oh, interesting. You know, I would agree. I think that this could wait, and we could figure out what's going on downtown, what it looks like with 30,000 additional people downtown. Light rail will have been running for over a month at that point, and we should have at least some idea what it looks like downtown if we do indeed have 30,000 people taking light rail from Federal Way. It's Skateboard Today, Metro staff's skateboard, and they said that in the King County Council budget, there was additional funding put in for police officers for Metro, for light rail, and for transit. So hopefully there'll be more officers down there from Metro and from Sound Transit. But I think, I would agree with Paul, I think we could wait on this and see what happens downtown.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem if the next council wants to go into a lease, but I think there's really two discussions here. The substation, as I understand it and how way I believe it, is not for people to come into the police department. That's what they do here. This is so you can diversify your personnel and not have to spend the expense to commute from City Hall to downtown. You can have your office there, and it's really more of a way to manage the costs and the ongoing costs of police officers who are deployed down there. Now, if the discussion is we want to have an open police department down there where Sound Transit is and change the way we police, those are two different discussions. I mean, I view this one as a workforce management, make it efficient for our employees to work, versus having a presence where people come to for policing, which may be needed. I mean, the council may have to just make that decision and work with Sound Transit and end up building a joint building or doing something different. But I think you need to, I view this as differently. They need to be separate. One is workforce management and where do people work, and the other is, do we need more policing downtown when Sound Transit comes? I mean, that's the way I separate it. So if it was just for managing our police department budget and our work and how we do business, I have no problem with a lease. If the council in, starting after December wants to have a long discussion about more money to fund the police and have a new building and do a partnership with Sound Transit and change the way the police model is with the police chief, that's a different discussion. So I'm not opposed to having a lease because you're going to have people down there forever anyway, and nothing's going to happen in 2 years if you started today anyway with Sound Transit. I mean, so anyway, that's why I would say have the lease. You got security, you got a place secured to do what you do today, but then open it up to have that discussion. That would be my recommendation.
If I may interject, Mr. Councilmember Dovey is 100% correct in that aspect. That unit down there, that building houses our special operation unit, our traffic unit. And it's a place where officers can go have lunch, use the bathroom, and without coming to the station. You never want all your officers coming back to the station. By having that area, they're able to go down there and stay within the city limits without coming back to the station and be downtown. The presence where they're there is a deterrent. Just having police cars there is a deterrent. And we want to have as many police officers out in the city and not at the police department as possible. This area is right next to the transit center that's opening up. And having as many officers down there as possible, visible, is a deterrent. So that is a two-phase. It's to have officers not here at the police station, because if they're here, sitting here in the police station, using the bathroom, doing their paperwork, people aren't going to see them. They go downtown, cars are visible, they're parked out there, police sign. So it is a management where they don't have to come back to the station. It's also a visible deterrent. So that is what that station is. If you guys want to build a police station that's open down the road, that is going to be a big investment, because you have to have the bulletproof glass, the secure doors. You got to have all that stuff that you have like downstairs, which we don't have at the substation at this time.
Why would you need all that?
Security.
But is it only the police who get that security then? If we're building other facilities for other, like the maintenance facility, they don't have bulletproof glass, is it only police who get that extra protection then?
Well, when people, the Parks does not deal with criminals when they come in to talk to.
They do.
Parks
Everybody
does
deals
not,
with
they
criminals.
do not go there directly to talk to about crimes. Police talk about crimes. People call 911 about crimes. It's different than parks, and it's different with police. There's not a threat to police like there is parks. I mean, to the police other than parks. It is completely different. And if you want a secure area where people can come in and talk, you need to have that security.
Man. Well, I'm not going to completely agree with that, but I mean, that's an opinion. If we're just going to be paying for people to sit there to do paperwork, I mean, I know you're going to say it's not,
Well,
but that's what it comes down to.
Wouldn't characterize it like that. It's,
What else is it?
we're not paying people to sit there to do paperwork.
No, I'm saying for the facility. The facility, we're paying for the facility for someone to go to do paperwork.
Well, I mean, we can have
Lunch?
Yeah, well, no, let's have a discussion. If you're downtown, I mean, open
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah, I am.
And you've driven from this transit center to here, that's a 20-minute drive. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, I was driving across Federal Way the other day, and there's traffic, and it takes 20 minutes, in my opinion, to get anywhere you're gonna go in the peak of time. So if we have an officer that we have a loaded cost of a couple $100,000, if you really think about the cost of an officer with all the benefits and the salary and all the downtime, if you're gonna have them drive from downtown where they can do their work, paperwork, whatever, and drive 20 minutes here to do work, you've just increased our cost of policing by a tremendous amount of money. So
So my assumption is that there's always a place they have to go to do the paperwork. I mean, the assumption is.
I would think
there's-
so. I mean,
okay, so-
everybody in business has to go somewhere, I would think.
So if they're at the south end, where are they gonna drive? If they're at the north end, where are they gonna, I mean, I could use that argument depending on which one of the 4 different sectors they're at. And then we also have the mall, so I mean, there's also the mall they could go to that has, I'm guessing, a facility for the police officers, since that's where we have 2 cop stations.
I haven't been to the
7 days a
mall,
week.
so I don't know. I haven't seen that
Yeah,
lately.
well, I didn't even realize we had cops there.
I mean,
on
maybe you
duty.
should describe the mall facility. Thaddeus, it's not, it doesn't have a.
Officers do not go to the mall. It's back in the back area. It's a security area where it's not very visible. They can go there. Police officers don't go to the mall to do paperwork. They just don't, because it's not a very,
Do the people from
Nice
the police
area.
officers from the mall go over to the station to do their paperwork then?
no, they stay at the mall. They are paid to be at the mall, so they stay at the mall.
So please do paperwork at the mall.
Police officers who are assigned to the mall do their paperwork in the mall because that's their place of duty. Other officers do not come to the mall to do their work because it's a very small, undesirable area. The South End people usually go to the Pack Highway substation to do their paperwork, and majority of other people downtown go to the downtown substation. And the people who are way out here come to the police station. So I think the big question is, do we want all our officers in this immediate area, whenever they have a case, to come back to the police station and camp out at the police station where there's no visibility? Because that's really what this is about. It's about visibility and being a deterrent. And security of our citizens. Do our citizens want that police officers out in the community? Or do they want them all sitting at the police station? Because,
But if they're sitting there doing paperwork, they're sitting there, it's just a vehicle that's out in the community.
and the visibility decreases crime. A lot of crime is decreased by visibility and presence. And then being downtown is a quicker response time than it is from the station. So you're lowering the response time, and you're lowering crime because of the visibility. Don't discount disability. Visibility is a big deal when it comes to criminals. When they come out there and they see a police car parked right there, I doubt they're going to commit a crime. I doubt they're going to assault someone. I doubt they're going to steal something from someone, because we're right there. And they know it.
Oh, yeah.
Council President?
Well, thank you very much. Thaddeus, you pretty much answered all my questions, and I would be a strong proponent of keeping it as it is. I mean, I don't think at this point in time, when we're having all these influx of people coming into our downtown, I don't think it's a time for us to be changing something that has been working And I totally believe in the deterrent and having somebody there that's accessible if needed. This is a contract that we could end at any time, isn't that correct, without any, if we, at some point, we felt it wasn't
I would refer that to
the lawyer,
Mr. Ryan Cole.
to Brian?
I'm sorry, I haven't really looked at this lease super closely, and I did not review it. Probably not. Most leases do not have a
Oh,
termination at will clause. Let me look at it real quick.
yeah, I'd appreciate that, but, for the new people coming on board, listing who they are, I don't know if, they're not going to know a whole lot, just coming on, they're brand new.
We currently don't know a whole lot. We don't know about Sound Transit, we don't know about the building across from, there's a whole lot that we don't know either.
Yeah, and that's my point. We don't really know what's coming with 30,000 people coming into our downtown. So personally, I'd be in favor of keeping it as is until we can make a decision. Don't we have a substation on 288th and Military also in that area?
No, we do not. That one was closed
At some
down.
point we did?
We did a long time ago, yes.
And did we have a substation over off of 21st and down in toward the
Twin
Twin
Lakes.
Lakes area?
Yes, that was closed down also.
That's closed down, yeah.
Why were those
Council
closed?
President.
She's got an answer.
Sorry, I got an answer to your question, Council President.
Thank you.
There is a termination clause, so we can terminate for any reason with 30 days of notice.
Well, yeah, so why not? Okay, so I'd be in favor of that end, but thank you.
Yeah. I think Susan and then Jack.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I want to be perfectly clear. I think the visibility is great because it says right on the building, Federal Way Police Department or Federal Way Police. And that's why people go there, and then they have to call 911. What I would like to see is it at least have a receptionist there or somebody there that they can walk in. Let's say they're being chased or something, and they have to call 911 and they're running to this building because it says Federal Way Police. I'm concerned that with all these extra people coming into town, it's not going to serve the purpose we want it to serve. So that's what I'd like to see. I would like to see it as not a full station, not like here, but I would like to see somebody there, at least for part of the day, when we have the most people coming and going off of light rail, so that someone could get the help or be more secure inside the building than they are outside waiting for 911 to come. Because I don't know how long it'll take 911 to come. I mean, I've been put on hold before when I've called 911. So, and I know other people have because they've told me. So that's my concern. And secondly, why did we close the other two stations? If visibility is important, I think we could all mostly agree to that. So why were they closed? Do you know why?
Most of them were closed due to not being used. We just don't pay money for things that we don't use. Most of those substations, the one at 21st Avenue Southwest and the one at 288th, wasn't being used by the officers. They just weren't using it, so they were shut down.
Okay, well, that's a good reason to shut it down.
And
But
to answer your first question, that is something that the chief and you guys will have to make a decision on about having someone man there 24 hours. I know we do have, like I said, SOU and traffic is manned there, and if someone calls or saying they're at the substation, if someone is in there, they will come out and help them. It's not like, we're not going to help people if they say, I'm at the downtown substation and someone is sitting in there. But a lot of times officers are doing their paperwork, so they can come out and help, or they are having their lunch, so they can come out and help when 911 is called and they say they're at the downtown substation.
Okay, well, that's my concern, so,
Understandable, ma'am.
but I do appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Honda.
you know that.
Yes, I do, Ms. Honda. Thank you.
Jack.
Oh. Yeah, I was going to say, it was, Susan, I think you said that it's not serving the purpose it was intended for. I think it's serving the purpose it was intended for, as explained here. That was the purpose it was intended for, to make it so that they weren't having to come back. And so I think that we should definitely renew the lease. However, I think that we should see if we can increase its purpose and not just have it for the purpose it was originally intended for, but see what we can do to increase the purpose. And as far as, not knowing how long it'll take if somebody's there and calling 911, they'll certainly get a quicker response if people aren't having to come back here to do a report or to visit the John or whatever else, I mean, if they're there closer, they'll respond a lot faster. And so I think that we should definitely renew. It's all the better. I mean, I think we should renew even if we didn't have the 30-day termination clause in it. But with having the 30-day termination in it, I mean, hey, to me, it's a no-brainer then that we should renew it. But, also I think that we should talk to Sound Transit, talk to others, and see if we can make better use and collaborate with things, so.
Jack?
And I was just going to make a comment. Councilmember Honda wants to have more access to it. There's technology right now that's very simple that you could actually have on the door, and it goes to the officers in the door on their phone that somebody's there, so you could get access without opening it up to the public. I mean, there's some very cheap technologies now available. So that might be the first step. Instead of saying we want to open 24/7 and people sitting there, use some technology to make it more accessible to people when they come, and people can come out and help them, and so.
Well, first of all, you're assuming someone's there, because I've been there at least twice, knocking on the door, no one's there. Secondly, I haven't said open 24 hours, I've said open.
I heard
Yeah,
24.
That's what
so.
he said. I said when we have the most people downtown, which I would assume between 7 a.m. and maybe 7 p.m.
Okay.
But I did not ever say 24 hours.
Yeah, it's like 2 more head count probably in the police department, something like that. But anyway, look at technology next year. It might be a way to get it going until it gets started.
So I just have one last comment here. I do agree with the fact that there's some value to have this station there. Especially if we can terminate the contract with only 30 days in advance. So from financial perspective, I don't see a concern there. But my main concern is by having that substation there with very limited service to the public, it gives the general public a false sense of security. I can tell you when I travel to a different country, I often look for the police department nearby, just in case if something happened. If something happened to me or family, I can run there, for example, and knock on the door, and somebody will come out and help. If our substation don't provide that, or provide that with very limited capacity, I'm just concerned that people will assume when they have some emergency, somebody will be there 24/7 to help them. And that is the only concern that I have. I am fine of supporting this moving forward, but I strongly suggest that for those of you who remain on the council, to work with the new members and the mayor to really take another look at how to increase the personnel at this substation or build a new one. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, to go into that one, I'm probably just make the motion and let it die if it doesn't make it. I still think it needs to be pushed on and need to get feedback from Sound Transit. If Sound Transit's going to be there on a more consistent basis, then we would have some overlap. If they have a building already built out for it, then we have a building. But not knowing and then just saying go with it because we can drop the contract in 30-day notice, that's never going to happen. I mean, that's just, to say it sounds great, but no one's ever going to kill that contract. I'd rather know and have someone actually make a decision based off of knowing what the future is going to look like with Sound Transit than just throwing it out there and then finding out Sound Transit has a building now, we have a building, they're manned these hours, we have someone every now and then comes to that one, but there's not a consistency, whereas if we team planned it and had an actual understanding what Sound Transit's going to do, we could build around it. Maybe we do license this place, but then Sound Transit uses it also, and they're there during the daytime. But again, I don't really want to just jump into this and say, go with it, and then have someone come back and do it. I'd rather say table it, have them come up with those answers, talk to Sound Transit, present it to the next council, and that council can make a decision. It's literally a yes, go, move on forward. I mean, I don't see that big of a deal, but knowing what Sound Transit is going to do and what they have built and bringing that to the table allows us to actually look at what that larger multi-year project's going to look like.
When does this contract expire?
It'll be 3 years.
No, the current contract that we have,
Contract, January 1st, I believe?
December 31st.
December 31st. And so,
I wanted to make that point too. So we're already going to be 6 days out of contract, even as is, because it's going to the January 6th meeting. I doubt the landlord's going to be willing to let us sit in a building for 2 months without a contract.
I would suggest that we go ahead, we go forward with this, put it on the consent agenda. If somebody on the new council wants to pull it from the consent agenda, they can do it. But especially with the contract expiring at the end of the year, I mean, to me, it seems like we need to take action.
Susan?
Thank you. So at Skateboard today, Katie Durrell from Sound Transit talked about safety and security on the train. And they have 3 phone numbers to call. And I even questioned, you don't call 911, you call this other number. And she said you could do both. But they have a dedicated phone number for security, and you can text it 24 hours or call 24 hours a day. There's always someone to monitor it and to respond. So I know Sound Transit has some safety issues in place, and they will be giving magnets out and information for people so that they know what to do in case they don't feel safe on the train. And then they have another number for passenger care if you just have some concerns about things on the train. But they do have this number for security, and she mentioned that, you can't, if you see something on the train, you don't feel safe, and you don't feel safe making a phone call and having someone listen, you can text for help. So they do have some security already set up.
I'd like to move them and propose that we move this lease agreement forward on January 6, 2026 for the consent agenda to be approved. Because we're going to talk all around, with Sound Transit. We've been working with Sound Transit for years. Nothing's going to happen in a short period of time, and I would hope the council can come up with ways to consolidate and maybe do things in the future. But Sound Transit is not our police department. They happen to be a member in our community. I believe our police department needs this. And so I'm moving that we move it forward for the consent agenda, and then you guys can all talk about it after January.
Okay. I think Jack Walsh wanted
Oh,
to comment. Oh,
No,
Paul, you wanna-
but I agree with what Jack just said.
Yeah. My issue is a contract coming to us with no real options but to vote it through because of the time frame doesn't really give us much of a chance to have these conversations. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you too much, Paul, but this is one of those things you just get done and let the council figure it out next year. So
Okay, that's
I've
your
made my motion. Is there
motion?
a second?
okay. I'll second the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 nay.
To the one to the consent agenda. All right, thank you. Good discussion, though. We are now moving to item item D, approve purchase, furnishing fixtures and equipment for the Joy Use Operation Facility. EJ. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, brother.
Good evening, members of council. EJ Walsh for the record. So tonight, we are here to talk about the remaining FF&E equipment for the operations facility. And I think I'm sharing this. Come on. There we go. So the policy question before you is, should the council authorize staff to acquire furnishings, fixtures, and equipment for the joint use operations facility? As a little bit of background, this thing is jumping all over the place tonight. Council approved an overall budget for the joint use operations facility previously as a capital project, which means it is not tied to a specific biennium, but it runs with the duration of the project. The budget included lines for FF&E and contingencies. The city is responsible for procuring and providing certain equipment for the contractor to install. So that is what was before you previously for the long lead items. There's also multiple items that we are responsible for providing to have an operational facility that also have long lead items. So the last bullet is really what we're here for tonight. So all of the items that you're going to see in a second and that are in the staff report were part of the original FF&E information. There's nothing new or different here. They are all within and consistent with the overall project budget. With the exception that since this was originally put together in front of council in 2021 originally and updated in 2024, as council's very well aware, there's been significant inflation. The tax rate within Washington state has changed, and we have tariffs on materials coming from specifically Canada is the one that's impacting this project the most. So there is increased costs for several of the large items that we have to face. So as a financial summary and what that looks like on paper, so the overall equipment budget is $2.2 million. That's what council approved as part of the overarching budget. The previous authorizations was done in two packages. So the first one was a little over 1.1 million, and then a subsequent 405,000, which gives a remaining budget or a remaining amount within that $2.2 million budget of 659,200. The list you're about to see is 868,000, and that's that cost difference I talked about. So we are proposing to move within the project 208,000 to make this whole. The big thing that I would say is this does not impact the overall budget of the project. It does not impact the general fund or any of the other funds. This is what we have contingencies for. So while, these are some large numbers that we're talking about, obviously they're not, one, it's not money that can be used for anything else. It can only be used within this project. So, overall the project is trending well. It is trending on budget. We're in a good place. So the equipment summary that you're going to see is it is key and significant equipment. The list you're going to see is stuff that we need to operate the facility. The same caveat we provided last time. So the overall budget's approved. So this is a little bit coming to council again for a subsequent approval within this line item. So a little bit of a formality. It is the same process we used for the PAC. We're trying to honor that a little bit, as well as just being transparent with where the significant expenditures for the project are. So it does not include an exhaustive list of required accessories. So a lot of the equipment, there's the main piece, and then you have to buy 6 adapters to actually make it operational. So the list includes the main piece, and then the total cost includes everything. And then items not specifically called out are within the purchasing limits. So the first one is an example of that, remaining IT infrastructure for $9,000. That's patch cables and fiber patch cables, and I think there's a TV monitor in there. But it's lots of little stuff that's within the project design that we're responsible for providing to the vendor. IT displays, the Key Vault security system, so that's a combination of access control as well as the physical key security for vehicles. Remaining site equipment, and then site small fit out, that is everything from trash cans and lights. And remaining welding shop equipment, so the long lead welding items that are hardwired were previously ordered in the original budget. There's a bunch of racking and smaller stuff that's still needed. The tire repair equipment is still, it's the actual tools to make that stuff work. The fleet vehicle lifts, these are the 3 small lifts. The 2 long lead items were the big parallelogram lift and then the overhead lift. Those were ordered about a year ago. Those are set to arrive at some point in the next 2 to 3 months. These 3 remaining lifts are what you would see more in a typical service station. Traffic sign equipment, cement storage equipment, which is the silo that was spec'd, cement batching equipment, which is what it sounds like, and then remaining IT and infrastructure should only be on there once. It shouldn't be on there on a second time.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, no, that for the same amount, that is just a typo. That should only be on there once. So the options considered are authorize staff to acquire the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment for the Joint Use Operations Facility, or option 2, do not authorize staff to acquire the FF&E equipment and provide direction. The mayor's recommendation is to forward option 1 to January 6th. You already heard from Chris the reason it's going to January, not the December meeting. I was going to touch on that, but with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and attempt to stop sharing my screen.
All right, Paul?
Yeah, only question I have is 208, is that, if I understand you correctly, that's due to inflation, taxes, and the tariffs?
You are correct.
Okay, and then that's coming out of the contingency 10% that you already had put into the program?
Correct.
All right, that was it.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, on that list that you just showed, where was the big bump? I mean, 208,000 out of that, I mean, what, it's the cost of a cement patch plant go up or
So that one actually went down.
went down? Okay.
Yeah, so the big ones that increased were the lifts. I think the lifts added almost 15,000 in tariff fees alone for that one item, and it's only 35,000.
Yeah,
The IT equipment almost doubled. The security system, so this is all chips, like computer chips and stuff.
yeah,
so
right.
that
That must have been the area that went up because of tariffs and things with
That one went up
electronics.
substantially. I think this one went up alone 30
Okay.
or 40,000. The remaining site equipment, that one went up about 15,000. So there's not one, with the exception
Okay.
of the key vault, there's not one that was like, this is 90% of it. It's a lot of pennies that
So
are
it-
just getting compounded.
So it really probably is not taxes, it's mostly tariffs, I would think.
So when we originally put this together, the tax rate in Washington was 10% even. And
Yeah.
now, depending on where you are, it's 10.1 or 10.2. So the tax rate did change. And when you start talking about $200,000,
Yeah, but it's,
it makes a difference.
it makes a difference, but it's not a
Yes.
big difference when you go from
Tariffs-
10 to 10.2 or 10.3.
Tariffs and inflation are the two
Okay.
big ones. But, we want to be transparent, give all of the reasons, not, not try and hide something, so.
No,
It-
I was just
it did change.
curious. I mean,
Yeah, no,
to me,
it's
I bet you the biggest number there's tariffs than electronics.
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily get a breakdown from the vendors we're using of what's tariffs versus what's inflation, but I would tend to
Okay,
agree with you. You're probably right.
okay, thank you.
Susan?
So, it would be great if we could use things made in America. And is there any way that the things you have to buy that have tariffs, you can find that some are made in America? So that we don't have to order them from other places?
Not at these prices.
They're more expensive if they're made in America?
Yeah, most of them substantially. So a lot of this stuff is made in America, to be fair. But, the raw materials coming in, steel and aluminum are the two that the tariffs have been substantial on. So the same conversation, those 3 fleet vehicle lifts, they are made in the Midwest. They are made in America, but they use Canadian steel to make them. So the raw products coming in are from Canada. They are paying the tariffs. So it's Mohawk Company. We're purchasing them through the federal contract. They are guaranteed as made in America. But that being said, they got to buy the steel from somewhere too.
All righty, thanks.
EJ, I do have a question. So when council approved the budget for you to buy all this equipment, why didn't we buy these equipment back then?
So we bought everything that was approved previously. This is actually the third list that we're bringing to council to close it out. So the first list is fully bought out, and the second list is bought out but has not been delivered. And then this is the kind of the third piece of the puzzle. In short, I think in a perfect world, if the economy were great, construction came in under budget, I would recommend putting some more stuff on here and using more bond proceeds to do that. We're in a place where I'm very confident in this list, but I'm not as confident in saying, hey, take some of the extra bond proceeds and buy more things that will be a benefit to the city in the long run. But I think some of that conversation was making sure this project was on solid ground before we brought this to council. I think the last thing I want to do is come back to council and say, well, we used all the bond money and we're not done the project. And conversely, the thing I would love to do is come back and say, we haven't used all the bond money. We can't transfer it to the general fund. I'm recommending we buy X, Y, and Z, whatever that may be. I don't think we're in a position to do either one of those yet. There's a lot of additional equipment we could put in this facility to alleviate future costs to the city and buy out equipment now that the city's going to have to buy as the city keeps growing. But we're not proposing to do that either.
Okay. So assuming the full council approve this budget request, how soon you plan to go ahead and buy these equipments?
We'll start cutting POs for this stuff immediately.
Okay. We don't want prices to increase.
No, we were kind of caught off. We were kind of caught off guard that this was going in January. We thought this was going to be in December, and there's a couple things on this. We were trying to beat price increases with the new year that unfortunately is not going to happen.
All right. Thank you. All right. I see no other questions. Can I have the motion, please?
I got this one. I move to forward option 1 to the January 6, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
We have motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Better pass 3-0. Thank you, EJ.
Thank you, council.
All right. We now moving on to item E, approve AP voucher 10/01/25 to 10/31/25 and payroll voucher 10/01/25 through 10/31/25. Mr. Room.
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I am joined by my tissue box and cough drops. Thank you for letting me present remotely. I appreciate that. The first item is our accounts payable. I show you this every month, and the last couple of months, our total dollar amounts that you've been approving is quite substantial. It's dominated by construction project spending. Of our total $11 million that we dispersed in October, 5 invoices, actually 3 checks to 3 vendors, it took up about half of the total. As you already heard, EJ is moving along on the maintenance facility construction. That comes out of our bond proceeds. There's also the locker room renovation that continues to have progress payments. And then there is the 288th road diet. That's where they are taking where they're modifying a roadway cross-section from 4 travel lanes down to 2 travel lanes, and they're doing quite a bit of work, and so that's that project. So that is why accounts payable is so much more than it has been in the past. And our payroll total dropped a little bit because this month, in October, we did not pay quarterly payroll taxes. That only happens once every 3 months. Everything else is in your packet. Normally, we try to answer voucher questions that we receive from council members before this meeting, and this month, we did not make that happen. I was out of the office today, and we were short 2 other members of my finance staff, so I make a commitment to get all of those questions answered and sent out to you. Possibly tomorrow, but I kind of doubt it. It's probably going to be Monday because we are working on processing a payroll this week, and it's a short holiday week. But as always, we're committed to transparency and accountability. We will always answer questions, even if you come up with other ones. So with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Any question for Steve? I see none. May I have the motion, please?
I move to forward the vouchers to the January 6, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. Steve, you have the next one. Approve monthly financial report for October 2025.
Thank you very much. The monthly financial report for September and October is not a whole lot different, although I do have a few little pieces that are positive. Our sales tax revenue, now, we receive sales tax on a 2-month lag from the state, so I'm showing you the remittance that we received from the state for September. At the moment, we are still unfavorable to budget, 900,000, that's close to $1 million, of course. We're 2% over prior year. Now, I did not show you, I often bring an inflation chart to show you the most recent update to inflation. We don't have one of those because due to the federal government shutdown, they didn't publish one. However, the most recent inflation that we saw was 3% inflation. So if our revenue is up 2% over prior year in 3% inflation, that probably means that I'm generalizing on average, our sales volume is down 1%. That's what I'm guessing. And we always try to use this as our most significant indicator of the local economy. Also because the scale on the graph, as we watch our sales tax receipts go through the year, we're looking at upwards of $20 million. So this is our single biggest revenue for the whole entire year. If I look at every month as compared to the same month in the 4 prior years, in the last 5 months, we have consistently seen that our sales tax revenue has been higher than the same month in the prior year. So while we are still missing budget, we still have, we're still in that middle ground where it's unfavorable to budget, but better than prior year. When we look at utility tax, we had a significantly positive month with our September receipts. And so this shows that we're 939,000 favorable to budget. Now, this is the budget that we bumped up a few months ago at our first budget amendment because we felt that we had budgeted too cautiously. I don't normally show a month-by-month graph, but the cumulative graph here shows that we are still going to exceed, very likely, our budget this year. If I look at our month-by-month graph, back in July, we received that single large check, which we talked about in detail. But in September, we also had a significantly higher month. Now, we get a large number of utility tax checks from multiple utility providers. So some of this could be timing. However, cumulatively, the graph on the left shows that we are still significantly higher than the 4 prior years. So this does a nice job of helping us to mitigate the sales tax shortfall. Our property tax revenue, this is never very newsworthy. At the end of the year, we almost always get exactly what we levied, give or take a little bit. But what's interesting to me is that in April and May, that's when our property owners send in their first property tax check. And then in October and November, they send their second half. And in both instances, it looks like the first month, they were a little bit light, a little bit delayed perhaps, and they sent them in at the last possible time that they could send them in. So again, at the moment, we're unfavorable to budget and we're under prior year, but my expectation is next month we'd be right back on track. Real estate excise tax, REIT, has been consistently, I think we have talked about this from the very first month back in January when we started to look at this because the prior year had been low. So clearly we're going to finish the year unfavorable to budget. It is over prior year. I don't think I have, no, I don't have a month-by-month graph. But still, nevertheless, the way that we mitigate this is we delay projects. We don't like doing it, but that just means that if we don't get the money in, we don't spend it. That it's a restricted revenue and a restricted fund. Permit fees also had a favorable month. This is better than it has been last month. We're still unfavorable to budget, 390,000, so we expect to finish the year a little bit unfavorable. However, it's better than prior year. Yes, I do have a comparison month by month, and you can see that 6 of the 10 months so far have been better than prior year, but there's an element of randomness. If I'm just looking at numbers on paper, I have to go over and find out what's happening at the permit in Keaton Evans, and even then, we're more reactive. There's not much that we can do that's proactive on this revenue. Interest revenue is down. It continues to be unfavorable to budget and under year. So if I look at the total for all of our, oh no, I've got a couple more, I'm sorry. Lodging tax. Lodging tax, it has consistently been favorable to budget. Here, the scale of the graph is 350,000. So even though it's substantially positive, it's a restricted fund and it's only spendable with things that are approved by the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And then I'm also watching our cash. The biggest decrease has been the spend down of our bond proceeds. That's those red bars on top. And as we get that spent down, and then we do expect to return to the pre-ARPA, pre-bond proceeds levels of the city. And so it's going to take us quite a few months to get there. We're still getting the benefit of interest revenue on the cash on our in total. If I look, I showed you this chart at the last FedRAC meeting, and our principal revenues that fund our general fund up on top, not REIT below, not the restricted utility tax, but the unrestricted utility tax together with sales tax and permit and interest. Here you can see that sales tax and utility tax kind of offset each other, but our top principal revenues that fund the general fund, we have a negative budget variance of $781,000. At the last FedRAC meeting, I was showing you $1 million figure. So we've seen some improvement. But at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we're still going to have a negative that is going to be covered by our reserves, our fund balances. So for the remaining couple months of the year, all departments continue to manage the budget. We are watching revenue closely. Some revenues are trending favorably, but the year-end revenues we expect to finish, while better than prior year, some of them are, I think in total, the general fund clearly is going to be under budget. That concludes my report. Happy to take questions.
Paul?
Yeah, Steve, I got one question. Is there anywhere on the finance report that shows us year-to-date total revenue compared to budget? So I can see, like, at this moment in time, where we're at with all the different funds, all the different revenue sources and everything.
Sure there is, and I want to say, I'm remote, I don't have the paper copy in front of me, but I think the very first page intends to be the total picture for the entire city. I've got total revenues. Just wanted to see it.
The one I got right now says general and street funds, and it breaks every one of them down independently. And then there's the one that shows the other revenues. I'm just looking to see if there's one that can say, like, hey, if I wanted to look at it and just see where we're at on all revenues, not just individual ones, where would we look for that potential
Right.
number?
Yeah, I don't have that exact comparison.
Okay.
I look back to the page 165 in your packet that shows all funds, year-to-date revenues, year-to-date expenditures, and that does not include budget, so.
And that was, you're looking at the fund activity summary, right?
Right.
Yeah, I looked at that right before I asked. Just wanted to see if I could find it.
I know, yeah, so we can slice and dice all of our revenues and expenses all kind of ways. I can produce that, I just don't put it into the,
No worries.
one we didn't do. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. It's almost December, and I'm wondering when we'll get a report on the farmers. I keep looking over there, and I know you're not there, so you're here. When we're going to get a report on the farmers market, what the costs were, what revenue came in, and where we stand on that.
I've talked to Bill Vadino that a couple times. We are still waiting on final checks, both coming from the previous owners. We were using their bank, and they have to remit 100% of what they use their point of sale device. It has to come back over to us. We're still waiting for, I think, the final month on that. And I also don't have the final numbers on the fundraising.
The Taste of Federal
revenue
Way?
Or expenses. Yeah. I'm still waiting on that.
Okay, it seems a little bit long.
I know. You're right, and Bill and I have been talking about when we're going to have the final numbers, because he wants me to provide the number side to match up with his operational report, and so I don't have the final numbers. You
Okay.
can blame me.
You know, planning for next year should already be underway, but for the farmers market, but it's hard to do that when we don't know what the numbers are.
Well,
Okay.
and we're going to need to come to you and ask you for a budget for 2026. You only
Yep.
approved a budget for 2025. Technically, the farmers market doesn't open until May. However, they need to do communications and planning and all that. So, yes, I think we are operating under some time constraint. We agree.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Paul, go ahead.
I have one follow-up question, Steve. I noticed that on here, I can't remember exactly the spot, it said that transfers were favorable, expenses and transfers were favorable by about 3 million. Do you know if we just pushed off large projects, or is it more of just not spending money that's been projected for certain purchases or projects?
Gosh, I don't know off the top of my
Okay.
head, and I hesitate to guess without checking with my staff that does the nuts and bolts journal entries on that stuff.
Okay, so if you get that information to one of the other council members, I'll pick it up from them later then. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions for Steve. May I have a motion, please?
I move to forward the October 2025 monthly financial report to the January 6, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This matter passed 3-0. And that is all the action.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about other, so.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to mention that that is all the actionable items that we have to vote on today. Now we are moving on to item 4, others. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to pass out this document to each of the council members. So we're all talking from the same page. And what I asked Mr. Groom to do was to go back and look at the last 2 years of travel expenses. You know, we just saw in our financial report that we're upside down, what, 800,000 right now, Steve?
That's
Around
correct.
among friends. And so I just wanted to look at, nothing, we're going to make a decision here, but plant the seed for the council next year on where can we find some of that money, or where should we be cutting things? So this list here is 24 and 25 of all the travel, lodging, conferences, and on the page, if you flip it over, it says, I couldn't get it on my computer, 431,773 we spent in 2024, 240,000 so far through 2025. So it's at least 25% of what we're upside down. This doesn't include memberships to different associations we are. You can look at conference seminar registration, but you could probably add another probably 100,000. I'm just making a number up.
Over 100, it's about 200,000 for all 4 of the groups
Yeah,
that we're going to.
for conferences. And again, I'm not going to be making the decision on how to make the budget balance next year. The people that are elected and those up here are going to be doing it, but I'm just putting this forward so there's some thought of where we could actually save money. And maybe we need to rethink as a council in a city, is it really important to go to a conference? I mean, what do we bring back? What money do we make? How does it help us? Because you're gonna have to be looking for where to cut things. And I looked at this, Steve, and, you know, some of these things have, like, community development, it's got 12,000 in conference and seminar, but no airfare, so those must mean that people drive to those locations. They don't have to fly somewhere. But if you look at the ratios of how much the council pays per person versus what the police department pays per person, the council's way out of whack on what we spend to send people places. Now, back in 2024, I get it, it was Korea, Japan, sister cities, so those are high.
I missed those.
But I think 2024 or 2025 is something to look at. You'll all have to wrestle over it in January, what you want to do. But I asked him to do this just so you have a starting point. And all the information, Steve and his team did a great job pulling up all the different things. I didn't ask him about memberships, and there's a bunch in public safety, there's a bunch in public works, council. So this is just a document that's going to be public record, so people can look at it, gives you a place to start working, and that was my other.
I wanna-
Councilmember, on short notice, of course, I did not have an opportunity to invite all of the department heads to help me identify what's discretionary, what's not discretionary, what is professional development. I think that HR would weigh in and say that recruitment and retention, sometimes professional development is important. So if you wanted to direct staff to do further analysis, I would reach out to some of the departments.
No, I don't expect to direct anybody to do any more. This is just a starting point so people can visualize what we spend. And there's things that we have to do, I get that, but there might be things that we say, you know, do we really have to go to that conference? Maybe we only do it every 2 years, I don't know. But again, it was more for a working document than anything else. And so thank you, Steve, for your work on this.
I'm gonna jump on that one. I just got done reading a few weeks ago an AWC article on Yakima, and Yakima switched their policy. They had a $9 million deficit. It's not that big, but they had a large one, and they had to really look at doing it differently. And they ended up going with what is the term? They had a term for it. I think it's priority-based budgeting. And one of the things they did is they looked at council budget was one of the things, and after review, council budget got chopped, the 4th of July got chopped, and a few other ones, but it was something where I think people need to actually sit down and look at a little bit more and verify where the money's actually being spent, because we're done. I mean, the three of us no longer have to worry about coming in next on January to look at this budget again, but I don't feel super great handing it off, but it is what it is, and at least you gave them some ideas to take a look at. And I would say that some of the other items on here, food is another big one. People don't think about it. We spend a lot on food and a few other small items. And then also another one in the budget cycle is going to be vehicles. Can we get a little bit more out of them? Because a good percentage of our budget in the millions tends to be large vehicles or just replacement of stuff. So they've got a lot of things to look at next year for sure.
And I guess one other thing to maybe think about, again, I'm not going to be here, which is okay. But maybe some of the projects that we do where we get matching funds and we have to spend our own money, maybe we just don't do them. You know, if it's 300,000 we have to kick in and $1 million we get from a grant, maybe we don't take the grant, because we're in a great business. Everybody wants our product, but nobody wants to pay the taxes for it. So, so I learned that from Ken Nyberg a long time ago. You know. So anyway, that's my other. So thank you for letting me bring that forward.
I would suggest we also look at clothing. When I look at the vouchers every month, the amount of clothing that we buy for different departments, and, you know, recently there was the Rain Fest, which was a really cool first-time event at Steel Lake Park on a Sunday afternoon. But staff had puffy vests that had Rain Fest on them, and I had to wonder, why did we do that? They were nice, but I know that they have other clothing that says Public Works or Parks. So there's some departments that spend a lot on clothing, and
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I remember Ron Gintz when he first was elected, and Ron, if you're listening, please take this with as funny, but he used to ask, why are we buying so many pencils? I mean, it was a kind of a rhetorical question, but if we only need 10, why are we buying 20? You know, that was his question back in the day, and anyway, so I'll leave it at that.
Paul and
Yeah.
Jack.
With that, I just came back from South Lake, Texas. Was there longer than I expected to be. I was going to be going to, speaking of events, I was going to be going to NLC and from there,
Now we know.
and my flight was canceled due to a storm. And then I ended up getting back here a day later than got back about 11:30 last night. But anyway, one of the things that happened while I was there is they had the Christmas tree lighting. Huge thing. I mean, now you got to understand that they have a different demographic and a different city budget than what we do. I mean, a very, very different city budget. But one thing that I saw is that for the Christmas tree lighting, they had nice T-shirts that they were giving out to everyone that was there that had South Lake, Christmas 2025 and everything. And I thought, wow, I mean, they are really spendy on this. They were giving out to everybody. And then somebody had it on and they turned around and on the back it said Verizon. And later on I talked to the mayor, and this extravagant Christmas tree lighting thing, I mean, it was blocks of stuff. And it was almost all paid for by sponsors. And I think that that's something that we need to be taking a look at, is not just what we can cut back, but what we may be able to shift from tax dollars to sponsorship dollars, and be able to do things for our citizens, for our residents, but get some of the, in this area, there are some possible sponsors with very deep pockets that we need to work on.
Emptying.
Yes, yes.
it's like our flower baskets. They're beautiful. I love them, but perhaps we could get sponsors for that. In the
And-
traffic graphics, I've always, and I brought it up numerous times, I would love to see traffic graphics, where they cover the boxes in vinyl. Have businesses sponsor those, because then it can be sponsored by whatever business, and the business can have an ad on it. I think we would get more of those covered, and we wouldn't have to pay for it.
Yeah,
mean, there's things we could do. We
There's
just
a lot
have
of
to look.
sponsorship opportunity. I mean, we've been working on a sponsor for the Naming the Pack for years, which hasn't, but I mean, hey, that's a lot more dollars for that. But there's a lot of smaller sponsorships that maybe community development could be working on that. I don't know. Since she's the only one left in the room here rather than legal. So anyway, but something to consider. So.
Thank you for attending tonight.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow up with you guys. I 100% agree. I think next year, the council, you guys are going to have to start thinking outside the box. We're not the only person, we're not the only city or state starting to run into issues, but as I look through the monthly financial reports, the one thing that came very consistent in the last especially 12 months or so is utility tax has been the most stable base, but it's also because utility tax is constantly being increased, we get a little bit more of that increase. So it's a little bit of a fleecing in my mind. I'd rather have that revenue stream where they wanted to spend the money and it was optional, where instead it's more of like percentage increase, we get a little extra. So I like the ideas you guys had, and I'd say start thinking some more outside the box, because we're gonna have to find some stuff that you guys are gonna be able to determine is gonna be of value to the city next year especially. So I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you, Paul. We appreciate you.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone that in December, we don't have the FEDRAC meeting. So the next FEDRAC meeting is going to be January 27 of 26. Of course, three of us won't be here. Jack Dovey, myself, and Paul McDaniel won't be here. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone, especially my two partner in crime right here, for the last many years. Thank you, the rest of the council members and staff, especially the finance staff under the direction of Director Steve Room. They truly made our job much, much easier. I don't know what else to say, except to say that it's truly, truly has been my honor working with the rest of the council members and staff. I'm gonna miss everybody. So I'll just end with that. Thank you so much.
And lastly, you got to thank Steve for the green mints.
Chris came through this month.
She came through with the bag and put them here. It was great dinner.
Green, color of money, we do our branding.
Makes it sweeter towards
Committee
the end.
members, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Throw it in at the end.
All right. We adjourn.